Everyone open a pop can at the same time.
Every time. Every time. Okay, welcome back to episodes 5 and 6 of Curse of Strahd, Tatyana's Revenge, a Dungeons & Dragons adventure using the Zweihänder Grim Perilous D100 system. I'm your Game Master, Daniel Fox, and of course, as usual, we have the gang, the cultists, the playtesters, the people I've known for many, many years, people who help make his Zweihänder, main gash, and every other RPG we've done here real. So we're playing Curse of Strahd while we also work on our next book. We want to do something that's a little bit, but I have to write something fresh, so we chose this to play. Because we're on episodes 5 and 6, which some of you are probably listening to a little bit later than when we actually recorded, let's do, if somebody is maybe new to the podcast, let's maybe bring them up to speed on what's happened so far in the past 4 episodes, and I'll let Adam tell that story.
Like a brief overview?
Yeah,
Okay.
High level overview what's happened since we started playing.
Well, we were originally stranded in a blizzard. We were remnants of a traveling group that got whittled down to 5 people. We were carrying a lot of the possessions, food, etc., from all those other people to just simply try and keep warm. Came into a village. It was abandoned. This village had some children in it, though, hanging out in the street next to a lit brazier or fire or something along those lines. They told us that their baby brother was left inside a house, but they can't go back in there because of the monster. The monster that stays in the basement had somehow escaped, and so we went in to retrieve the baby because, well, we know that monsters aren't real. And so we went inside, went upstairs, because that's where the baby's room was. Somehow or another, a suit of armor came to life. And when we also checked on the baby while some of us were fighting the suit of armor, the baby was actually a dead baby. And Dr. Krista decided to grab that baby and run out with it anyway. We couldn't defeat the suit of armor because we just couldn't, defeat it with our weapons. But our hero, I'm forgetting character names already.
Nigel
Tanner came sliding down the balustrade and landed on the suit of armor, and it broke apart. So we decided to get out of there, and when we came out of the house, we were in a swamp, and the house had been torn apart, and instead of holding a baby, Krista was holding a deck of cards. We wandered around for a little bit, came across a group of traveling vagabonds, and were welcomed at their camp. They ended up telling our fortunes using the cards that we had found, and we were each given a card and a fortune to try to chase after, and so we started to chase after one of those fortunes.
So let's move on to Nick's perspective. What happens next?
So, once we had our fortune told, we spoke with the leaders of these group of vagabonds who called themselves the Vistani. Thank you. And we gleaned a little bit of knowledge from them regarding what's surrounding the surrounding area and that sort of thing. And at that point, we retired for the night. And when we awoke, there were none to be seen anymore. Gone. So from there, we decided to follow one of the fortunes that mentioned going back to where we came from, or the house, or something like that.
It was specifically a fortune that was told to Dr. Krista.
Yes.
Remember?
I cannot recite it word for word, but
Must look to the place where sickness and madness are bred, where children cry, and the treasure still lies.
So we thought that may refer to the house, so we felt it merited investigation.
smart.
We went back, and
Nobody's
when we arrived, we were beset upon by a large murder of crows who did a number on us, inflicting some damage and disease.
And I think coming out now, Mortimer was grievously wounded.
He was.
Yeah, he didn't do so well against the suit of armor, didn't do so well against the birds.
It was clear that trying to pass back through the house, that these crows kept gathering among the trees and the eaves, and once they had turned to handle the door, they just kind of beset upon everyone. This large murder of crows swirling around the house like a dark halo of black wings and squawking.
So long story short, we managed to beat these crows back, and but we discovered in the process that the house was set to collapse, and trying to investigate any further would be disastrous for anyone trying to be inside there. So we kind of decided at that point to cut our losses, and seeing the condition of Mortimer as well as Nigel, we decided to go back to, actually not back, but to the village of Barovia, and followed our map, which the Vistani had given us, to the east. And one of the first landmarks we came upon was the gallows, which we kind of looked at for a few moments and paused. Decided to move on, since our time is of the essence, since we're kind of in a bad way at this point. But someone had turned back and looked at the gallows, and it was just then that we noticed that there were bodies hanging from them when they had not been there moments before.
Oh. Nick seems to have forgot what happened last week, because that was not the case, but perhaps that's the thing that is evoked in your mind's eye when you turn around toward the gallows. Hot, humid summer day, midday, the mist lingering in the air, the hackles on the back of your neck rise, Nigel, as you turn around, half expecting bodies to be swinging from the loose ropes of the gallows, but there's nothing, just the stressing of the old wood as it's kind of set in the muck and the mud, with a small cemetery nestled nearby.
I must be seeing things. Thought I saw a body there for a second. I'm in a bad way. We got to get back to that. We got to get to the village.
I agree.
Indeed.
Well, me.
If you feel this warrants no further investigation, will you continue onward to Barovia?
Well, yeah, I mean,
It warrants
These two-
investigation, but not in our current condition.
these two have already talked about coming back and robbing the graveyard.
Whatever
But once they're not in bad shape.
whatever terrible person was charged with the headsman, so to speak, the person who operated the gallows, at least they had the decency to bury the dead. As you can see, this small gray cemetery, almost opening like a black pitted maw, inset into this low hill, with these gray stony teeth kind of rising out of it, almost like rows of teeth. It looks like a maw on the ground. But it is certainly a cemetery, and you cannot make out the headstones from here. But it is juxtapositioned not too far, not even a stone's throw away from this old wooden gallows, whose wood has begun to rot over time. You've peeled most of your clothes at this point off you, your winter clothes you had worn here, or had worn, I should say, perhaps not intended to come to Barovia, but the heat is excessive, and all along the edge of the wilderness, gathering in pockets, sometimes around the periphery of the trees, where you get these gray shadows, is this perpetual mist. And the heat and the humidity just feels overbearing at times. In fact, the mist, you can't even really see the blue in the sky. The mist kind of lingers above the trees like a canopy or a haze, kind of bleeding the yellow light of the sun across the horizon. It's kind of almost reflecting upon the moisture in the air. You're not really certain specifically which direction the sun may be unless you sit and you kind of fix your mind to it. You see a brighter spot among the mist above you, but otherwise it's just kind of this yellow, pale light. The color of urine or the color of mustard. The entire sky is cast in that, and that makes toward the edges of the hills and the forest almost kind of this greenish gray until it reaches the mist. Visibility is fair, but making it anything more than 100 yards or so ahead is very difficult, if not for the fact that the road is winding between these tall mangrove trees, but also because directly to the southwest there is this escarpment of stony gray mountains that disappear into the sky beyond. This path that you're on is surprisingly well worn, and it's mostly demarcated by wagon tracks. No real boot prints, just a lot of wagon tracks back and forth. Like this road has seen, has had maybe perhaps the Vistani you had encountered before among their camp. Maybe they go along this path, but no boot marks or anything like that, or anything else that really mark the path. It's just kind of this rut that kind of twists and winds through the wilderness until finally, or I should say, not until finally, but it comes to what looks like a low, thin thread of silver, what looks like a small running river with a wooden rickety bridge kind of stretching across it. And the bridge is so old and archaic, you'd almost imagine like you'd almost imagine like in the stories you read when you were younger, like some troll is nestled beneath of it. Like it evokes this kind of sense of folklore of these stories you've been told when you were younger. You pass across its creaking boards until not too far after that, these tall shapes seem to loom out of the dense fog that surrounds everything. The muddy ground underfoot gives way to slick, wet cobblestones almost immediately. Tall shapes become recognizable as village dwellings. The windows of each house kind of stare at you from pools of blackness, no light really seemingly coming from within. And the gray haze that is kind of cottony and lingers between the buildings in this small village of Barovia, making it hard to really see much inside. Imagine Silent Hill. That's kind of what this place is like, this perpetual fog where things in the distance are more gray shapes and suggestions of trees or suggestions of buildings until you come closer to it. That is much like how you would see Barovia in this case. No sound seems to cut the silence of Barovia, not a soul to be heard or to be seen, except for a mournful sobbing that echoes through the streets from a distance. You're surprised to find cobblestone laying amidst this swampy ground.
I'll stop to listen for the sobbing. Does it sound to be of a person of age or of a child?
Go ahead and make an eavesdrop test. This test will be routine.
Okay, that's 59. And 71 won't do it.
You're uncertain. It's just kind of lingering in the air. You can hear it runs off of the wailing kind of passing through the streets. You can see immediately where you're at, Nigel, there's a sign that is kind of affixed that says, "Welcome to Barovia." And beneath of it, it says, there's a mark that has hatch marks, and at the very end it says souls. There's 40 souls that live in Barovia.
Souls.
Huh.
Small village.
It's a unique way to state your population. Let's find this Lord Marcus.
Perhaps a doctor first.
We want to.
Yes,
Or
yes.
physician or
Sorry,
ambulator or
I
somewhere
wonder,
clean at least.
I wonder what that sobbing is. I don't think that Mortimer should be going to check it out, but is anyone feeling hearty in hell?
Why would you immediately believe that sobbing would lead to danger?
Because birds have led to danger, because everything has led to danger.
Children have led to danger.
Like Barovia, the Australia of our world, where everything's trying to kill you.
Yeah, that's funny.
I like it. Don't treat this place like Australia.
Well, I'm fine. Crikey. My health is good, even if my head wanders.
My primary concern is for your well-being, but I also would be concerned if someone else was in danger.
I will not lie. I have concern for your well-being, but it somewhere rounds out my top 10.
Today is not the day that I die. I am not concerned about that.
Oh, well then we should probably see if that person is okay. Oh, is all right then.
Well, I mean, it still would be a bit foolish to run headlong into such danger, as wounded as I am, but if you go, I will follow, I guess. Better than standing in this town all by myself.
Why don't we just go together? I'm not feeling well either. We need to be looking out for number one. Find that doctor and set ourselves right.
You want to find this Weeper, then let's go, but I will stay back and protect Morty.
So you need a doctor as well.
Yes, look at me. I look seriously wounded.
As I look at you for the first time in a while.
He's seriously wounded.
I look
Grievously wounded!
Yeah. Well,
I just realized I don't have any money anymore.
perhaps it is just to check
I
and
have
see.
money, it's just I don't have Barovian money.
Do they accept it as currency?
Yes.
We should see. We should see about finding an animal mender at the least. So I guess we'll try and go further into the village.
Okay.
The village is hauntingly quiet, save for the periodic wailing and low moans of a woman coming from somewhere with sobbing, not like moaning, but sobbing, like long, somber crying, wailing.
Nice place you got here.
Oh there!
A sparse light seems to come from a building, spilling out from behind drawn heavy curtains. The sound of the moaning is not coming from here, but you can see that above the gaping doorway, a single sign hangs precariously askew, which proclaims this place to be Blood of the Vine.
Blood of the Vine.
Oh. I suppose that if they had an animal mender, the person inside this building would know.
Mm-hmm.
Why?
Because there's only 40 people in the whole town.
Oh, I understand what you're saying. I'm sorry. Perhaps I am less healthy than I thought. My ears seem to be failing me. I assume that they're referring to wine by the name of the place, right?
It looks like that that part of the V has been scratched out and turned into Blood of the Vine.
It still makes sense. Grapes growing vine, and their blood makes wine.
Yeah.
Maybe they're either clever or their maintenance is poor, one of the two. But either way, somebody's here.
I think I'd just rather go down to the Hogshead and drink, but it's just me.
Did you see one on the way in?
Nope.
Oh, now this is the sturdiest building you've seen so far. It would serve as a town hall.
I think this is it.
Barovia's finest. Shall be sure to mention this place in my detailed critique.
I'll walk up and I'll knock on the door.
You knock on the door. It is already open.
Oh, it's already open?
It is open,
then
yeah.
I'll step in.
Okay. You step inside and you leave the fog behind, but even in here, there is little light. There's these candles that are kind of burning along the hanging wooden candelabra that are doing very little to illuminate the room. Everything's cast in kind of these gold and bronze colors, these brassy Renaissance colors, and the colors that you would imagine inside of Renaissance paintings of that era. There are brass pitchers here and there. The place is redressed for comfort, but there are nary but two lone souls in here that you can see. One dour-looking man is behind the bar, is sidled up to the bar with his back to you, his short cropped gray hair kind of falling to his shoulders. Another is behind the bar and has a jolly look across his face. And "Hail, travelers," he says. "Come in, come in."
Thank you.
Thanks.
You can see behind him along the bar there are a number of flasks of varying sizes and shapes, filters and whatnot that would indicate different types of alcohol.
Hello. My name is Mortimer Dupre.
You come for a drink, I trust?
Wait, sorry, I'm getting my mic.
Yeah.
My name is Benedict Dupre.
Hi. Welcome to the Blood of Vine. What can I help you with?
Well, I suppose a drink would be in order for some, but for others, do you know if there's an animal mender in this town, or a barber surgeon of sorts?
He
We ran into some trouble.
curls his nose and he says, "Aye, the lord over there of a sort." His smile drops to a kind of a upside down frown. "The lord over there."
Is it Lord Marcus?
He nods, kind of matter of factly. You can see that Marcus is sitting by himself. Lord Marcus is sitting by himself, and he's surrounded by a great number of tankards, several pitchers as well.
Oh, good.
Barkeep, what's your name to make this easier?
They call me Bell.
Bell, I'm Artie.
Hey,
Is there a way to change money in this land?
change money? Why would you need to do that?
Do you accept this? And I'll pull out a few brass pennies.
"Oh, if it clinks, it spends," he says as he takes the brass pennies eagerly and almost just puts them right in his pocket. He rolls his sleeves up and says, "Pick your poison." He turns around toward this large periphery of different types of booze, spirits. All manner and number of different bottles that you can only imagine would have been brought from the farthest reaches of the world. Some written in strange tongues, others written in the common tongue.
Benedict doesn't react to that at all. Ah, good. I'm myself would like to see about procuring a glass of wine.
Oh, okay. He turns around and he'll fetch something for you. Anyone else?
What sort of wine do you have?
Oh, he begins rattling off a number of names. Some you recognize, many you do not.
I'll take one of the ones that I recognize.
Okay.
A nice white.
I'll just whatever she says. I don't know anything about wine. I'm gonna think that I don't know anything of wine.
What are you drinking?
Watered wine is probably the only thing I've ever had.
Mortimer?
Oh, I said water.
Nigel?
You brought your own crystal light to put in your water glass so that you don't have to tip
He
it.
will pour forth
Cheap
drinks of
bastard.
water and wine and spirits,
Cheap
whatever you
bastard.
wish.
How much will that satisfy?
You already paid.
Ah.
Hmm.
Very well.
So that much, apparently. Alright, well.
Well, bankers, find yourselves a seat. It's all clean. Plenty of room.
Is there else an inn for the night?
Oh. Well, I could put you up here, he says, kind of trailing off for a moment.
We'll speak to the Lord first. We were requested to, so maybe we should do that first.
How much has he been drinking?
Who?
I'll look over at Lord Marcus. I'm asking Bell specifically.
Go ahead and make a rumor test. This test is going to be routine.
Alright. I have a 52% chance on rumor. Routine makes it 62%. Yeah. He's not trusting me.
Well,
Failed that roll.
enough. Let's say that.
So you're saying he's not in any condition to practice medicine?
I tell you what.
I don't know any barber surgeon that doesn't enjoy his spirits.
It keeps the hand steady.
There you go.
This is true, yes.
But I'll tell you what, if you're concerned about it, I'll go first. You'll see how he does on me. I'm not as worse for wear as you are. I've had some moderate scrapes and bruises.
Well then. Okay.
Dupre, lead. You have taken that mantle.
I will, as soon as I'm finished with my drink. I do not wish to rush such things.
By the looks of it, he would not mind if you joined him. It looks like he is both in need of company and no stranger to drink.
You know, that's a fantastic idea.
You look around the tavern floor, and there's no one else in here save for the barkeep and Lord Marcus and yourselves.
Well, that's even more awkward. It's almost impossible to avoid. Let's speak to him.
You approach, and he kind of looks up from this gray muss of hair that's cropped, and it seems to be well tended to, despite his inebriation. His eyes are bloodshot. There's deep bags below. There's kind of dark bags below his eyes, like a man hasn't slept in days, and he has a little bit longer than a 5 o'clock shadow. He's probably been here for a couple days, you'd imagine. His clothes are a bit soiled, as if he hasn't changed them in some number of days. He smells awful. Smells like he's been sleeping in his clothes.
Smells like a birdhouse.
Yeah.
Lord Marcus, I presume.
He looks up from his drink and kind of straightens himself, and threatening to almost slip out of the chair, he kind of affixes his cravat around his neck. I am Lord Marcus, he says in a very even tone. He raises his chin. With that, he kind of swings one leg away from the bench and the other as well, and stands up, a very tall man, a very noble stature, very angular features.
It's a pleasure to make your acquaintance.
Who might you be?
My name is Benedict Dupre.
Oh, Mr. Dupre. A good day to you, he says.
These are my companions. I'll allow them to introduce themselves. Sorry,
More
Lord
tea?
Marcus.
I'm Sir Artie Clavinger,
Sir Knight.
Lord.
Madame Dr. Krista Wolf. Nice to meet
He
you.
will take your hand and gingerly kiss it.
And my name's Nigel.
Nigel.
Just probably keep that hand away from open flame for a while.
Well then, he says. Please sit if you like. Bill, can you help me here with the dishes? I can, my lord. Bill says. He kind of waddles over and begins cleaning up the cups, and it's kind of awkward for a moment, and you're standing in silence for almost a minute until finally the cups and the plates and everything else is set free or removed from the table, and you find yourselves sitting down around this along this bench, almost shoulder to shoulder with him.
As he's clearing the cups, I give a good look at Marcus and kind of in a disapproving eye and see if he reacts in any way.
He doesn't seem to. He doesn't break his stride at all. He maintains his noble semblance. He doesn't show any cracks at you upon your suggestion. But make an intimidate test.
Okay.
Let's find out. What is your social class?
My social class is Burger.
Okay. It is going to be challenging for you.
Okay. And
I mean, he's an aristocrat.
Aristocrat.
The aristocrats.
And what did you say the difficulty was?
Challenging.
challenging. Okay. So that means my chance to succeed is 38. And I did not succeed. In fact, I critically failed.
You can see him
Made
kind
him
of
mad.
looks down his nose toward you, and you feel that perhaps you've overstepped your boundaries in this strange land, and you can't help but feel some sense of shame as you will say, "Oh my gosh, you'll suffer 10 mental peril and 3 corruption." You feel very small before this noble man, despite the fact that you're clearly a stranger in this land and you've already shown your ass, and you feel terrible about it. You see Nigel kind of shrink as everyone sits down around the table. Nigel waits until Lord Marcus sits, and then Nigel sits at the farthest end of the table. He's kind of looking over his shoulder. You can see he's blushing. He's embarrassed.
What is your problem?
In fact, you all feel a bit embarrassed yourselves. You could feel like you could feel the eyes of your peers kind of looking down upon.
Like, what the fuck is your problem?
Yeah.
What are you doing?
Yeah.
What are you doing?
This man's trying to help us.
Staring down the help.
Yeah, you made it awkward. You made it weird.
You made it very awkward for everybody.
You made it You made it weird.
Yeah.
He adjusts his collar once again, kind of the neck, the high collar, kind of at the bottom of his chin. He kind of pulls it away.
I bet I know how we can make up for this. I'll wave to Bill to bring another tankard over for Lord Marcus.
Ah.
Betting that this will make up for any insult.
Certainly appreciate it, Madam Krista. Dr. Krista. My apologies.
It is fine. I'm not practicing at the moment. You may call me Krista.
I assume that should you be a doctor, you would have earned your title and you would wear that badge proudly.
I do wear it proudly. However, there are times when I am doctor and there are times when I am Krista, and I find that keeping those titles separate relieves some of that that pressure and stress. Right now, I will be the other one.
I too dabble in the Galenic arts, he says.
That's what we were. That's what we were told. That's what we understand. It doesn't probably take much of a trained eye, certainly not one as trained as yours, to see that we've had a scrape or two.
He nods kind of curtly. I understand.
So,
Those of you who's not surprised by this suggestion.
Yes, you'll have to forgive us. We are a bit out of sorts, it seems, from what we have suffered. As I'll give a sideways glance to my friend.
make him feel as bad as possible.
That's right. Shame!
Shame.
Shame!
The shame wizard or whatever.
The shame,
Shame
wizard.
lizard.
From Big
Yeah. Yeah.
Mouth. That show's good.
Maxine.
You're always going to be alone.
Either way,
It's me and my best friend, the Shame Lizard.
So, I am neither that type of doctor, nor do I have the tools, nor do I have nearly the skill or experience that your reputation precedes. Is there a way that in exchange for some coins and company that you would be willing to help these fellows out from their crow scratches?
Certainly, he says. He does not seem to be surprised by that suggestion either. So, he says as he pulls out his doctor's bag that was or his bag that was settled beneath the bench, beneath the bench that he was sitting on. He puts it up on the table, and he proceeds to begin to bind you, Mortimer. Tell me, Morty, where do you hail from? His bedside manner is calm and cool, despite the fact that he is clearly inebriated.
I don't want any adventure.
I come in the west of Aglador, near the Teeth, near, not quite exactly in the city that my friend Alfie lives in, but I lived on the outskirts of that town for my whole life. And
He says. He bandages you. Go ahead and roll percentile dice. This is hard. Chance is excuse me. One moment here. Let me calculate this. 55% chance.
So 55% chance that's hard.
Mm-hmm.
So that'd be a 35%.
My friend, wait, he says. He looks a little closer at your injury. You seem... Your wounds are infected.
That would make sense. Carrion crows often carry diseases.
He unwinds the bandage and says, we will require more serious and deliberate treatment. I trust that you're not going anywhere anytime soon. He doesn't seem to ask the question as much as makes the statement.
No. We need to...
If we need to, we can make sure that not all of us go.
He looks to Bill, and Bill gives him a knowing glance.
Yeah, bearings again. Bearings, man.
These things can take their time, but they must be treated.
He will begin to perform bloodletting. Basically, he's basically setting you to a leeching.
Mm-hmm.
His bloodletting oftentimes would be to get rid of infection, as for you too, I'm assuming.
Mm-hmm.
He takes his time. So, are you all from where Morty is from? Are you all from there?
Yes, beyond.
A week ago, I would have said no, but when it comes to relative things, yes.
Yeah, so relatively, I believe we are all from the same place, even though others, such as myself, would consider Rolling to be a different country entirely.
In literal terms, we came from that house down the way, the one in the swamp.
He doesn't seem to bat a lash at this suggestion. He says, acknowledging your story.
You don't seem that surprised.
You all are certainly not the first outsiders to come to Barovia.
That would explain all the fancy liquor.
In a matter of sorts, yes, he says.
That matter of sorts meaning that those who come stay for a short while and then make their way, for lack of a better term.
No one ever leaves.
Their way in a sense, I suppose. Perhaps what they leave behind, though, is their desiccated corpses, and perhaps a spirit or two from their land.
That is largely what I was implying. Have you never stopped to question why? And how?
I have. As a matter of fact,
I believe the why and how are the same, right? The devil?
he kind of chuckles a bit at the suggestion. The devil indeed.
So this story is either well told or confirmable, and I'm not sure which one frightens me more.
It seems confirmation might be what we've just received.
I'm certain you all are surprised and confused why you're here. I can't tell you why you're here, but I can tell you a little bit about Barovia.
Yes, please do.
He's very careful and methodical with his treatments as he's attending to your wounds, despite the fact the man is clearly drunk. Like, his breath smells of death. It smells like he's been on a bender for the past 3 days.
Nice.
When his hands begin to tremble and shake, he actually reaches over and takes another long pull from the tankard and then even himself out. His eyes are dilated. To speak the Devil's Strahd, yes, devil is real. What have you heard?
That we are in Barovia, that you cannot leave, that...
The only way to leave is death.
Yes, sorry, there is one way to leave. That this devil is gone, banished, disappeared. Variations of that, and there is a new leader of this land.
Oh, a lot to unpack. We've got time. Bill, would you fix the door, please? I'll take care of it, Lord Marcus, he says. Looking outside, you can tell the sun is getting low, but the sun sets very slowly toward the horizon. The sky, or at least beyond the fog, is kind of orange and brown, which makes it even more difficult to see outside. He comes to the door and he shuts it closed, and he puts not one, not two, but three long boards on the inside. And as Lord Marcus begins to tell this story, Bill begins hammering 3 red nails into the threshold.
Is this a nightly ritual then, I take it?
Would I recognize it?
Yes, absolutely. And as a matter of fact, all of you would.
Yeah.
It is a ward against spirits to keep them from haunting your doorstep. It is a true thing. People do it. Very superstitious people do, particularly in the backwater villages of where you're from. But you're surprised to see that a man of medicine, a learned man no less, seems to encourage Bill to do it. There's no place safe in Barovia, safer behind closed doors once the sun sets. The devil's minions wander the dark.
Truly, Vermosty.
And worse.
Did you say worse? Is there such a thing?
Apparently.
The Hermosty, I suppose that is one way of putting it, but I do not speak of spirits from beyond. I speak of servants of the Devil's Strahd, occultists, those who once worshipped him as a god. They take to the streets at night. All manner of wretched men and women.
What makes them so wretched?
Their subservience to a thing of such great evil. It defies personification. This devil, Strahd, he is real. And there are people in this land who still follow in his old ways.
How long ago was he here?
He finishes bandaging your arm. You go up one step on the damage condition track. Well,
I'm also infected as well, by the way.
You're no longer infected. It has been 3 months.
3 months since Strahd was... Is it banished? Is that the... How is... I don't even understand that. Like...
He was about to be told that they're dying from cancer. He kind of is collecting his thoughts very carefully before he says anything. I'm going to speak to you very plainly. You are not the first I have spoken to. You are not the first outsiders, nor will you be the last. Here in Barovia, we are cursed to live in the shadow of the devil himself. There are a few beacons of light in this weary world of ours. Those who follow the Morning Lord, the god of this land, well, once god at least. All pray to the Morning Lord when the sun rises, for that means that the Devil Strahd's minions have been banished by the light.
Huh. The Morning Lord.
So you say you...
The Morning Lord rises in the east and sets to the west.
For the sun.
He kind of... Sure,
You say that
At least it's the same.
if that's what you call it.
Okay.
you say that we are not the first and we won't be the last.
He, as he says this, he kind of pulls out a sunburst from around his neck, a holy symbol, and stuffs it back into his. It's a sunburst upon a cross, like almost looks like a rose, but it's a sunburst and there's a crucifix behind it. He stuffs it back down into his shirt.
Were you at one point from somewhere else? Were you at one point an outsider?
My family was from beyond Barovia. My sister was an outsider, but I was born here.
Hmm. Do you know the name of the land that you came from?
Barovia, he says plainly. I am from here.
That your family came from. My apologies.
My family did not keep records.
Very well. It's a curiosity, my lord.
Why are you cursed to stay? Your god comes from the east. Why do you not just take to your feet and walk to its place of birth? Follow that road.
Indeed, there are roads through Barovia, and they go east and west. Perhaps some cruel machination of the devil himself. If one is to walk to the east to meet the Morning Lord, one will find nothing but choking mist. Wander about the mist long enough and you will find yourself back on the road west. There is no way out beyond the mist.
Mm-hmm.
What does it say?
Exactly what I was thinking.
Cursed.
It's a cruel joke. The devil has such great influence over Barovia that it is only by his mercy that he allows the Morning Lord to rise in the east and set in the west. Some days are long, some days are short. The devil is fickle.
Are you saying that you can't determine the length of a day by the season? A day can change within. I mean,
From one to the next.
this is this. That is confusing.
Yes, he admits matter-of-factly.
How do you prepare for the
Prepare
night?
for...
Well, you say the night is when the Lord, well, the devil's minions roam. How do you prepare?
We stay inside. We pray for the Morning Lord to come. We lock our doors, we bar our windows, and we say our prayers. We mark each threshold with 3 nails to ward away the occultists of the devil himself.
What do you do outside?
You don't go outside during the night.
What if you are outside?
And you're as good as dead.
Well, these occultists, Are they dangerous at first, or are they more the type that would seem welcoming at first?
Strahd, he says, almost saying the name with such great familiarity, as if he was speaking of a family friend or a family member. Strahd has many servants, chief among them all those from beyond the Vistani. They cannot be trusted.
Where do they go when the sun comes up?
To the mist.
Can they be found?
Sometimes they wander the road during the days, sometimes during the night. The Vistani come and go as they please. They have sold their souls to the devil.
We met a lot of them on the way here. They seem like an okay sort to me.
Oh?
Yeah.
Yeah, the Sarah Pool?
Yes.
He nods. That is a common Vistani camp.
Madame,
There are
hey,
some...
Madame Eva sent this for you. She said you would tell us about Barovia. The rules, basically.
The rules? He
Don't
asks.
Don't
The
feed
lay of the
Barovia
land.
after midnight.
Right. You know what?
You might be
I'm a
able to
man of laws and order. You know, I don't know what else to describe it as. The nature of your land and what it requires to survive. The rules.
I told you the first and foremost rule, the most important one, you must carry with you. You cannot be outside at night.
So how do you travel between these cities?
Cities? He kind of questions. There are no settlements here in Barovia, save for Valaki
Yes.
and Barovia, where you stand. There are other settlements, he says. The Abbey of St. Lander to the west. But we do not wander the roads. Everything we need is already here.
How far is Valaki from here? Day's walk.
Half a day if you're lucky.
Half a day.
If you were lucky.
As a day means nothing here, a half a day also means nothing.
I just got your point. So you can't tell the day you wake up if this is going to be a long day or a short day.
There have been men and women who have tried to suss the passing of the stars, the rising of the morning or and its setting. Those men and women who have taken such measures to look beyond the mist in the highest hills toward the mountains, as an example, have not returned. Men of science, learned people,
Yes.
natural philosophers.
Shame. We would have liked to look at their charts or their almanacs.
You will find that there are a rare few books to be found in Barovia. Those that there are kept hidden inside Castle Ravenloft, or are possessed by others in Valaki.
What are your views? How do you, on Valaki? Have you ever spoken with them very much? Well, we know not that we ought to trust those who'd be out at night.
He kind of pauses for a moment. You hear him kind of almost clear, sort of as perhaps he's kind of got a knot in his throat, like he's
Mutter, mutter, mutter.
like he's sad. He kind of steels himself and clears his throat. I have tried to make passage to Valaki once before. You find this very surprising. This man looks like he's probably in his late 30s, early 40s. 'Tis a fortified town to the north of here. That trip did not go well, he says, kind of looking down. When he looks down, you see almost this kind of shining, kind of almost scar on the side of his head through between his hair. There's this shock of like just gray hair along his along the side here, and you can see this looks like a very deep scar. He doesn't show it to you, but it's very apparent. He lowers his head and clears his throat.
But it was not always like this.
In Barovia?
In any of these places between mist to mist. You've laid cobblestone. Cobblestone requires mines. Mines require workers, and they require more than a day. If a day is... Certainly they were not murdered at night, so what happened?
The Vistani speak of a time that Barovia was not beset upon by the Devil Strahd. But this was way before my family's time.
Before the castle Ravenloft, I assume.
In a manner of speaking, yes.
So would the Devil Strahd even be himself an outsider?
That is a very complex question, which I am not best equipped to answer.
Oh, sorry, it was just a thought that popped in my head, a theoretical one.
He is all-seeing, all-knowing. He is no mere person, although he wears the skin of a man. He is a devil. No doubt in your mind. He is the devil.
It is said that devils and demons can take many forms.
Indeed.
Better to trick a person.
Those that are the most menacing are those who wear the shape of men and women. From our ancient books, from the stories of the Morning Lord, tell of devils who come in the guise of priests, of learned people, sometimes of simpletons, sometimes as a carpenter. The devil leads those astray. And others who seek power, who seek understanding and knowledge, are lured by it, driven by it. His eyes seem to turn toward Mortimer, and ultimately are consumed by it. The devil was one of these men, or was at one time, before he was the devil.
Why do you not rise up and cast arms against him?
People have tried.
That is what happened recently.
But why live like this? What life is this? A prison of mist.
But this did happen, right? This man came, he rose up against Strahd, this wizard. That's what Ava called this man a wizard. It seems.
I'm certain that
seems very storybook to me, but as she said, this is, and then Strahd killed him by throwing him off a cliff, and then all of a sudden the devil was gone and Queen Tatyana is here. That is a confusing sequence of events. If Strahd is gone, there's got to be a reason.
Well, he says, he kind of stops his mending as you are now up one step of the damage condition track as well, Morty.
Sweet.
And his...
Let me tell you a story. Let me tell you of 3 months ago.
3 months?
As Madame Ava has Madame Ava has suggested, Lady Ava has suggested, Krista has suggested, people have risen before, tried to rise against the devil with pitchforks and torches and firm belief in the Morning Lord. They marched before the castle gates of Ravenloft. But so great their host was, they were nothing more than ants before the devil's power. Those he found annoying he would crush. Those who found his mercy became his servants. Those he gave the forbearance his mercy, at least. But there was one, at one time, a man, Lord Vladimir of Valaki, he and a black knight named Sir Godfrey. We three, as well as a man who, this wizard that people speak of, von Richten, came to the castle, and we dispatched of Strahd, or so we thought.
You were there?
He nods.
How was it that you were led to believe you were victorious?
The devil was slain. Nothing remained save for his armor and clothing and sword. The man, Strahd, the devil was dispatched. We had thought, we believe that the devil is not real, that he is some sort of foul sorcerer and he's been dispatched and gone. The mists lifted. The Vistani left. And in the devil's place was Tatyana.
And now the mist will return.
Yes, he says, kind of defeated rather.
So is Tatyana the new Strahd?
What do you mean by that?
On one of the points, Strahd was the old devil.
So Strahd was the old devil, Tatyana's the new devil? I don't understand. I mean,
what became of the armaments? You mentioned the sword and the armor, and
they were discarded, thrown into the east, into the river, cast into the waters, never to be seen again.
Then, boy, do we have a story for you. Not what is it? 2-3 nights hence now. It is. We came from a very different place, and a suit of armor that I would believe, just making a haphazard guess, would match the description of the one you were seeing, came alive and animated itself like it were a marionette.
That it did.
To take arms against us.
Part of the reason that Mortimer is in the shape he's in.
You were inside Castle Ravenloft then. You breached the gates. That's where you found Strahd and laid him down.
He was laying low, but not by me. But I was there.
By whom?
Lord Vladimir and von Richten, both who met their perilous end. I and Godfrey were the sole survivor, the only survivors.
Might I ask you a question about the house?
The house by the Sur Pool, by the Vistani encampment.
No. Strahd's house, the Castle Ravenloft.
Go on.
As you entered the great room, was the hearth on your left?
From my recollection, yes.
Did you ascend a set of winding stairs? Was there a conservatory of glass all on the second floor?
He shrugs. Nay, Castle Ravenloft is a labyrinth, a formidable castle.
I was trying to ascertain whether some trickery we had visited the same place before. It sounds like a place that, if the mist can shift, then why not a house, right?
Your mind was going to the same place mine was.
The coincidence is just too great.
Curious about this Tatyana. Would you say that she was the devil's wife? Or bride, perhaps?
He kind of trails for a moment. You see him kind of wipe the corners of his eyes. She was his bride, yes.
Did she have a brother?
One time, he admits.
Do you know who he was, or is he still living?
Her brother still lives.
This may be either a silly or an offensive question, but your brother doesn't happen to be you, does it?
She was not Tatyana when we were younger. That was not her name. Irina. That's what my father named her when he found her in the woods.
I don't know all of the details, but I know enough to know that I should express condolences. You seem very shaken.
Irina lives. As I remember her, he says.
As they say, we never truly lose the ones we love. They were always in our hearts. I'll try to be as consoling as
certainly. My memory of her, I must have been 12 when my father found her in the forest. Just outside of Barovia, to the east. Near the gates of Barovia. She must have been 5, 6 summers old. It's been long, it's been many years. But Irina, as I remember her, who Tatyana is now, are not the same people.
So she wouldn't recognize you?
I don't know, he says. I think whether I recognize her is the more important question.
No wonder you drink so much.
She was taken, you see. You were not the first to come here. As I said before, you were not the last either.
Now where does everyone go?
They live their short lives in Barovia or Valaki, or they die. If they're lucky.
Do many just stay?
I am of the first generation of my family. My sister, Irina, although she is not of my blood, she is from here. But I remember my father talking about people who had been here far longer than they had.
And what keeps these people alive so long and others die so soon?
They follow the rules. Don't go out at night. The rule.
And don't piss off the devil.
It is not to say that this land does not have this time, that there are not moments that we cherish and enjoy each other's lives. Ravenloft, or Barovia, one time had over 170 souls.
47 now.
In 3 months. Since the mist had returned. They had struck out and left Barovia. Pioneers looking to make their own home in the land. When the mist returned and the Vistani did as well, the Barovians did not. They are dead. The lucky ones may have made it to Valaki before the mist came back.
How do you know they're dead, though? They could be out there.
You will learn soon.
Well, hopefully not by being caught out at night.
The wilds are untamed. There are hungry wolves in the forest. Brigandry, there is none because there is no trade. But the Vistani are ever present.
How do you grow food?
We can grow in the village. We take what we can get. Fortunately, this land is bountiful. Its soils are rich.
So there's not much ranching then, is there?
Oh, goat herds will bring their animals in at night.
At least there's that. I think one day I could give up meat if I had to, but I don't know about cheese. And milk.
This is a meager life, but I don't know how to overthrow a mist.
We believe that we know the devil was banished. The mists left with him. But 3 months have passed and the mists have returned. Which can foretell the devil is back.
So, was Tatyana at Castle Ravenloft this whole time, or did the mist return with her?
My sister was kidnapped on the road to Valaki. We had suspected she was taken to Castle Ravenloft. There was no other place. Everyone in Barovia knows. Should you look to the north when the sun rises, it is then that you can see the Iron Crown, as we call it. And amidst the crown is a single shining silver jewel. That is Castle Ravenloft. I knew in my heart of hearts that that must have been where she was.
Why? What makes her so special? No offense, but why her?
I don't know. I don't know. She had always been strange in her youth. He seems to be holding something back.
Like me?
Even you, Dorn.
What do you mean? He kind of. What do you mean?
Well, some would see me strange.
I was sure people would find it strange a peasant carrying on a scythe through the city or through Barovia would be a strange sight indeed.
Well, that was more recent, but I've always had a knack at well, learning things maybe I shouldn't know.
Ah, he says. He kind of takes a. He seems almost shift back in his seat.
So spit it out. What is it that you're not telling us? We're disposable anyway. We're going to be dead in 3 weeks. You may as well tell us. He probably knows. I put my motion towards the bartender. Maybe we can help you somehow. For all the good you've helped us.
He leans in and, like he's trying to not, making certain Bill can't overhear him. Arena is half snotty. father knew it when he found her from the wilderness. I didn't. I always thought she looked strange when we were growing up. It wasn't until I was older that I realized that she was clearly not of our blood, not of Barovian blood. Vistani, no doubt. But there are parts of her, at least.
What's the other half?
I don't know.
And you said earlier that the Vistani belonged to Strahd in some form or another? And
Belong?
work for him or
Agents.
yeah, or at least they only come about when the mist is around and they can be out at night.
I have a healthy fear of anyone who can pass between the veil of darkness unscathed. It is not because they are simply the Vistani, but if one is to put one and one together, one could assert that if the mist is a part of the devil, and that these men and women can travel betwixt the mist unharmed, that they indeed must be servants of the devil.
It's a bit of a leap in logic, if you ask me. Maybe they're just good at what they do.
Maybe you should ask some Barovians how they feel about that. Maybe you should look to the cemeteries and the graveyards where the dead are buried. Maybe the people here will tell you about the evils the Vistani have done.
Why would they send us to you then? If you... Oh, I don't understand. We're new, so she said we get one night. Is that the rules here too? Is you get one night and then you're thrown into the meat grinder of Barovia?
I'm surprised you were able to sleep among the camps of Vistani at all. I don't know why you were sent here. It does not make any sense.
Well, perhaps it is because we have a peasant who carries a scythe. And they found it entertaining.
Who knows what the devil thinks?
I think perhaps we are brought here for some greater grim purpose, and that they are not willing to entirely inform us of what that might be.
We serve a purpose for them.
Almost certainly. As of, I'm assuming, a lot of the outsiders. They serve some greater ecological purpose.
He shrugs. There have been many outsiders who have come, but not since the mist returned. None save for you.
So these many outsiders who have come obviously left their spirits behind.
He looks at you kind of plainly, unblinkingly, and says, "When you die in Barovia, you do not pass on."
Like to the world of souls.
You don't go anywhere. You are dead. Forever.
Well, I would think that if you die, you die.
Not necessarily.
Spirits do not pass on from purgatory.
I do not know of this word purgatory, but I should assume it's the well of souls.
Do not be a fool, he says. You know precisely what I mean.
There's no afterlife.
No redemption.
No redemption.
Ah,
We die here, we're here forever.
it gets caught in the veil.
Whatever your theological explanation for it is. Yes.
It should be all of our theological explanation.
That's the way it is.
I don't know anything about being trapped.
Maybe that is what they call the mist.
Why do you do
Maybe
good
that-
deeds?
Well, I wouldn't talk to these two about me doing good deeds, but I do good deeds out of the respect for my father.
And you're rewarded with?
A feeling of accomplishment.
Before we came here, we hunted the things you talk about.
What?
Masti, the evils that plague our worlds.
Ah,
Not these two.
to be clear,
Us two.
when there is no redemption for the soul, one is condemned to live an unlife, to shamble about, to be drawn into a terrible dark purpose, to be cursed, to never pass on, to find redemption.
What you're describing is how we would describe some Amasti.
Yes.
You have to appreciate the irony, at least.
I am familiar with this word.
Yes. So
That's precisely what happens when you die in Barovia.
now I understand.
You become undead.
You are not blessed with redemption. You cannot-
Unlife, as
you
you
can-
called it.
You cannot pass beyond into the great beyond. Your soul is trapped.
And what of these graveyards we've seen on the way here? Who's buried beneath them if you don't pass beyond?
Who says they're buried?
Well, there's gravestones. What, you just put a gravestone, no body?
Did you not look to the soil?
I didn't.
I did not. But it's disrespectful. Though some of us may think other thoughts.
There was no necessity to. As I'll return that sideways glance.
Why do we build epitaphs to the dead in our house, if only to revere the passing of our loved ones? The gravestone is similar to that, where we can go and we can remember our loved ones, those who passed into the great beyond, a place where we can ruminate and remember, and that is what gravestones are for.
I disagree with you, Doctor. Gravestones are because man is frail and believes that his accomplishments in time are worthless and nothing, and because it is beyond our capacity to face that we will all be forgotten.
Perhaps.
So I would really recommend that we go out of our way to not die here.
Generally not something I aim to do.
Right, that's something I do on a daily basis. Is endeavor not to die.
You should endeavor a lot more than you did before.
Then I shall double my efforts.
I would. Why did they give us these omens? Why, if these are our mortal enemies, then why did they send us on chaotic quests to acquire things of some sort of greater purpose? I don't understand.
Well, one of them sits among us right now.
Yes, so they
Alyssa. Are you known as this?
The what?
The lesser?
I'm second in my name.
There you go.
Do you have that card?
Tax collector.
No,
No.
executioner.
it is no. He's referring to my fortune, and they
Oh, is that
they said that you would be missing a child.
No.
I think.
No, this is tax collector. The executioner is the
I've
brother
born
of
children.
the brother of the Devil's Bride. Sorry.
Oh no, I have it wrong.
My fault. Sorry, man.
I'm looking for Valaki Village.
Valaki is to the north.
Half a day if you're lucky.
No, the fortune I was given by Ava was when she drew the last card was I'll pull out my wherever I'll pull up that card, the executioner, and show him, and then say that we were told to seek out the brother of the Devil's Bride, the lesser, that he was a powerful soul and that this person would help lead us to him. I think so far, this man is doing just that.
Why would they want to help us? I don't understand.
Perhaps.
Help us do what?
Perhaps even though they are able to pass throughout the night, they too wish to be out from underneath the devil.
Or maybe we are.
Well, all we've been given thus far truly are riddles. What answers have we given to why we are here?
Some things just come down to chance. As the Ninth Father would say, it was our unlucky day. Perhaps not everything is fate.
I'll tell you this.
I would say it's not fate.
And I speak from a position of authority, though I will not elaborate. Undeath is an exercise of vanity.
Yes.
It is those who know they will be forgotten and cannot find peace with that. This devil is a coward, and I say that plain and simply. A coward who is afraid to die. Well, I will tell you this. I've killed these cowards before, and I've survived situations in which they were considered unsurvivable. And it certainly feels like we're facing that same situation here now, doesn't it? Well, I've done it before. Let me just leave it at that.
You will be our guide to killing the devil, then.
What is it you intend to do? He says questioningly, like he genuinely doesn't know.
Leave. I want to go home.
Yes.
I
And
want to see my father's land.
some good words. How will you make that happen?
By any means necessary.
That is a very open-ended statement. How will
Yes.
you achieve that?
By killing the devil again.
I believe that we should. I believe that we should educate ourselves more and more of the land, and we should try and survive first and foremost. And we will formulate a plan, whether that is to kill the devil,
Or make a deal with him to leave.
Either way, we should know what we're getting into before we rush headlong.
Do you have any early hypotheses as to how to accomplish that? I do not mean that in a...
No, I understand.
I mean that literally.
And I see that you're wanting to say something.
I have an idea. So, you say 3 months ago when you struck down Strahd that the mists cleared and that many left or tried to leave.
Mist parted, yes.
Would you know of any of the souls from here that maybe it would have left for a different land instead of maybe just settling? For I believe I know of a way to test to see if they are dead or not.
I know the name of a soul. I'm misunderstanding what you mean.
I don't think I understand.
As I'll dig into my draft bag and
Please
pull out
explain.
a spirit board. If I were to know the true name of a departed person, and if I were to basically call upon their restless spirit, we could potentially ask them questions. And should they respond, then we know they are departed.
He kind of stands up from the table at this suggestion, and he says, the spirits in Barovia who have passed on or have changed this life of unliving are doubtlessly servants of Strahd, servants of the devil. You realize what you're trying to do. He says, as there's an ellipsis at the end of his sentence.
The thing is, I feel we are trapped in some sort of devil's snare. And if the solution is to strike down this new devil, this Tatyana, if that is our only way of exit, then, well, should we not know that for sure, rather, before we go and risk our lives?
You what? Intend to do what, Tatyana says?
Is
no
that
one else here at this table has said that that is what we wish to do. We are speaking of Strahd.
Okay, well...
We all said the same thing. We want to educate ourselves.
Indeed, but...
And you should not call upon spirits in a land. The man who says...
I mean, this is why I put it forth towards people, but, I mean, how do we expect it to escape from this trap?
Well, if I may. He said that these spirits, they are different, and, while I do not want to wholeheartedly say that that is not an option we will do, I believe that that is an option we should keep under wraps unless we are truly desperate.
We're desperate.
We are not truly desperate. We've only been here for a day, maybe two.
That's about, I've about had my fill. I don't know about you.
Yeah.
I understand your, I don't know. I would say if we were...
This place sounds absolutely depressing.
I understand, but you are desperate enough that you wish to call forth a spirit that could be so changed that would do absolutely terrible things to us.
It's a spirit. What can it do? It can't touch anyone.
Well, if the dead cannot pass on and live undeath like Hermasti, wouldn't he be calling a Hermasti of a different color?
Yes, that would be my thought.
Well, we just stay inside the room with the nails and the boards and everything.
Not if he is calling it into the room.
I would do this during the day.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, we'll be fine then, I think.
But
I would, I would suggest with the greatest caution that you, if you were to do this, then you would not do it here. That we would travel some great distance away.
I only mean to present this as an option.
I would not invite such things into the one place where men are known to be safe.
Of course.
Honestly, I think it could work.
Other than all those things that we have discussed, I believe it is an option. However,
Now that, to interrupt, because we're going in circles at this point, let's go ahead and pause, and we'll continue with our next episode in just a few moments.
All right, thank you.
Mm.